Hello, everyone, and good afternoon, or good evening, or even good morning, wherever you are in the world watching this. And welcome to another historian's interview here on Tales from the Wandering Scribe. I'm your host, Gabriel Garcia. Maybe you know me as the Wandering Scribe and the Wandering Quill. And today I am joined once more by a very, very dear friend of mine who needs no introduction. She is a powerhouse in the content world. She has been making a lot of content, so much content. She actually just finished season 11 of her series, and she is now in the process of getting season 12 ready. She is a very dear friend of mine, and if you remember from her last appearance, which was on the Historians Lounge, we talked about a figure that is very close to her heart and research, Tomoe Gosen. And in this episode, viewers and listeners, we're going to dive deep into my guest's world of content creation, from the episode, the ideas, favorite moments, and all the nice nitty-gritty stuff. So without further ado, let's give a huge round of applause to my good friend and fellow content creator. Let's give a huge round of applause to TK of For the Love of History podcast. TK, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Gabriel. It is so wonderful to be back on your show. We are friends, we are colleagues, and it's just always a joy to talk to you. So I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome, TK. Awesome. Now, before we dive into today's interview, would you like to share with the viewers and listeners what you've been up to since the last time you were on the show? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot has changed, both in your content world and personal life.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So much has changed. We're now at the end of season 11. I have a YouTube channel now. I'm a historical tour guide now. We are almost at 150,000 followers on Instagram, which is crazy. Just so many things. So many things have happened. I was able to take on my best friend and fellow history lover as an intern. So she is working with me now. We're working together on the podcast and YouTube and other content. And yeah, it's just things are happening.
Awesome. And you also had another someone from my show, Baptiste, who was in an episode with you, which
Yes.
was really awesome.
That
Seeing
was
you
so
guys
fun.
together was so cool.
Yeah, Baptiste is great. His book is wonderful. I always want more Shinto fantasy books, but people just don't write them. But Baptiste did, and it was so fun to read his book. And I love that, and love talking to him. Excuse me, love talking to him about his book and his process. And yeah, but we both live in Japan, so that was also fun to talk about.
Yes, absolutely. And I know that I kind of pushed for you guys to meet. I remember as soon as I found out that Baptiste lived in Japan, and also you were, I think, not too far away from each other, relatively speaking.
Oh, actually, we're very far away from each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yes. So we are on completely different islands. He's all the way in Tokyo, and
Oh,
I am all the way on a little island called, not little, relatively small compared to the other islands, Shikoku. So we're quite far away from each other.
okay, okay.
But
But yeah,
everything is relatively close in Japan.
that is true. That's true, especially with the bullet trains. You can easily get to one
Mm,
place or another in like
exactly.
half a day or so. But
Yeah.
all in all, it was great seeing you guys in an episode, because I was like, yes, finally they get a chance to meet. And honestly, you guys had a great discussion. And I'm just so blown away by how great of an interviewer you are. Because I don't know if a lot of people have told that to you, because as your solo content is incredible, you've also done a few interviews in between your episodes. I don't think a lot of people give you credit because you are a very talented interviewer.
Thank you, thank you. I chalk that talent up to just being a certified yapper. I love talking, and I love people, and I just really enjoy. I really enjoy talking to people. So I'm glad it
Awesome.
shines through.
It does. It really does. And I have to say, your costumes for all of your episodes is a highlight of my day. Whenever I'm scrolling and I see all of your costumes, the one that is ingrained in my mind is the one where you're dressed as a nun and there's fire on you. That, oh my gosh, I love that.
Thank you. My Hildegard von Bingham episode, I dressed up as one of the illuminated texts where she looks like she has like flames coming from her head, or actually coming down from heaven into her head. That's supposed to depict her receiving like a prophecy or something like that, enlightenment. And I thought that would be hilarious. The costume thing is actually a new thing for me in season 11. I think I maybe had dabbled in costuming the very first time or the very first season I did the YouTube, but just something in my brain was like, why don't we just dress up in funny costumes and have a good time on the internet?
Awesome. And speaking of YouTube, that's now a perfect segue into our interview, which is now going to focus on your content and how those episodes come about, because you have quite a vast range of episodes that you have covered. So let's start at the very beginning. So when you are making your episodes, TK, what's the writer's room like for you? How do you decide what episodes work for certain seasons, as well as the inspiration behind those ideas?
That's a great question. So it's perfect because the intern and I, as I lovingly call her, just had our meeting for season 12. So it's fresh in my mind. So basically, the first thing that we do is we go through and we check analytics. We check the episodes that did the best in the previous season. So for us, that was dirty jobs, like disgusting jobs throughout history. That was crocodile dung lipstick, like the disgusting history of lipstick. We also did an Atlantis episode at the very beginning of the season. That one did really well. Aspasia also did really well. So we look and see, okay, these are the types of topics that have a wide reach. And then we take a look at the topics that brought listeners back. So when it comes to podcast analytics, you can't really see that kind of stuff. But with YouTube, you're able to see those things. And so we go and we look at return viewership and what was bringing the people back.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's the very first thing that we look at. And then after that, we take a look at the episodes that we did last season, and we try to fill in the gaps for different cultures. So I am really big on hitting as many countries and cultures as I possibly can, because so often when you see world history podcasts, they really only focus on Rome, Greece, Egypt, which there's nothing wrong with Rome and Greece and Egypt, but there's so much more to the world. So the next thing that we do is identify gaps in our last season on topics and areas that we didn't cover. And then we usually choose about, oh gosh, in my notes, I have it right here. I can just show you. We basically write down a whole bunch of different ideas, and we go and we choose topics that we want to cover, and then we choose topics that I'll send you a picture of this afterwards. We choose topics that we think would bring in more listeners, and then we choose weird niche topics. So all of our topics have to go through world history, weird history, or women's history. Those are the 3 pillars of content that we always talk about. So we let the audience vote on some, and then we choose some that we really want to do. So yeah, I hope that
Nice.
answered your question. Did that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. And since you just brought up weird history, just a little tangent here. I was actually talking with a friend of mine earlier today, another historian, Natalie Brennan. We were actually talking
Oh,
about the significance of Pearl Harbor and World War
mm,
II. And we were
yeah.
talking about forgotten stories or lesser known stories of the Second World War. This story, TK, you have to cover because it
Okay.
is the most absurdly funny but amazing and true story. So, for those that know what I'm talking about, you can just go to this plug right here. But for those that are watching this right now, so the story is a Marine, and this is like before the early onset of World War II. I want to say 1930s. So
Okay.
this Marine won at a card table a duck from a farmer. And the duck was with the core. And it's like, oh, we want to do with the duck. We can eat it. It's like, no, I'm not going to kill the duck. Then World War II actually happens. This duck goes on 3 amphibious landing assaults in the Pacific, survives all 3, gets into a fight with a prize Japanese rooster, becomes a poster child, wins the Navy Cross, is given the rank of, I think it's Sergeant Swaddles. And fun
That's
fact, it was
uh,
actually confirmed to be a female duck. So, on a technicality, this is the first female to win the Navy Cross and partake in 3 amphibious invasions in the Pacific. I could be wrong on some details, but that is the truth. And the duck was fed cigarettes and beer. No, they gave it beer, a celebration.
oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, yes, I need to. I love ducks and I love birds. That's my other special interest. I absolutely love birds, so I have to cover that. That's so funny.
Absolutely, absolutely, TK. And with these, when I was looking at like, the history behind it, like how people were able to record it, it's like, okay, there has to be like a struggle. Like, how do you tell a story that seems so far-fetched and still get
Mm.
people engaged? And reading, I was like, oh my goodness, like I am actively engaged and I'm like mesmerized by the story. So for you, TK, with that same mindset, how do you like write the outlines of your scripts for each episode? Do you have like a very structured outline? Or do you know you're going to talk about it at the beginning? You know how you're going to end it. And the beginning, you just kind of feel it to see like what works best for each specific episode.
I am a big proponent of scripting out everything. I script out absolutely everything because not only am I the person giving the presentation, basically I'm the face of the podcast. I'm also running the lights, running the audio, making sure everything's in frame.
Mm,
I'm the costumes designer, I'm the this, I'm the that. So I'm thinking about 40 million things while I'm creating while I'm recording an episode. So for me, it's so important to have the script. So I'm everything is script. There are a few times when I think of something funny in the moment and I kind of go on a little side tangent,
right.
but I'm very structured with the way that I write my scripts. So actually, in the middle of season 11, I started doing a little bit of a different way of scripting because I noticed that it's annoying, but it is an important thing. But retention on YouTube is completely different than retention in podcasts.
Mm,
So retention on YouTube, you have to get people's attention immediately, and you got to hook them for the first a minute to 3 minutes. So doing my regular spiel of like, welcome, 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 I'm TK, your tour guide to the past, blah, 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 blah. People were automatically clicking away. They were just clicking away. And so in my introductions, I put the most juicy bits of things that I'm going to talk about. So I have an interesting hook. I tell people what I'm going to tell them, and make it really interesting. And then I get into my spiel of like, welcome, I'm TK, blah, blah, blah. And then we get into the episode.
Mm,
And when it comes to the meat of the script, I'm a big lover of storytelling. I
right.
think just because we're talking about history doesn't mean that we need to be just a timeline regurgitator, like
Hmm.
first this happened, then this happened, next this happened, because that's not interesting to the majority of people who are who are trying to, learn something and also have fun at the same time. So I weave storytelling into the telling of the history, and I really try to engage people's emotions when it comes to the stories, because people, you know, people are people, people are humans, and they want to feel connected to a story. And then I always end the episode. If it's a fun, happy episode, we end on a fun, happy note. If it's a tough episode with a tough topic, we end on a positive or uplifting note. We always end on a good note, or uh, a moral lesson or something to think about as you go about the rest of your day.
Absolutely. Very, very true. And it's very interesting, especially when we talk about historical content. There are so
Hmm.
many on YouTube, as you pointed out, that, for history itself, it's just absolutely insane. But that has led to a discussion that we're going to be touching on
Mm.
later in the
Yes.
episode. And that is, of course, the rise of AI content in regards to history, because that is a very, very important thing. But before we get to that, I actually do
Yeah.
have some fan questions, TK, that some of my viewers would like
No
to ask
way.
you. Yes, they are anonymous, so I can't unfortunately say their
That's
name.
okay.
But you know this, you know this. So one of my viewers asked you, TK, what has been your favorite episode to record, as well as the most challenging episode? Now, that could be either the story itself, the script, maybe the costuming, anything
Mm.
and all the above.
My absolute favorite episode to date that I had so much fun recording it is the Sobek episode, the alligator, or the crocodile god of Egypt. It's
Oh,
just
nice.
absurd. It's absurd. The history is so funny. And it was just a joy. It was a joy to record. It was so much fun. I also think another one that I really enjoyed, that was just a good time, is the history of hippos, because it was just a fun episode. It was really good. And then one of the hardest episodes for me was this season, the history of breast cancer. That was a
Mm,
tough one. Tough personally because my intern, my best friend, she was diagnosed 2 years ago with breast cancer. Now she's 2 years free. Her tumor markers are great. Everything's wonderful. So cancer free, and we're so happy about that. But that
mhm.
was a really tough episode in terms of research as well. Just reading about all of the different men and women who have had to go through breast cancer and not have availability to the treatments that we have right now.
Right.
I if time travel is invented, I'm immediately going back and I'm taking breast cancer medication and a mammogram and all of those things. Like, I'm taking it all with me and going back in time. So that was a really tough one emotionally, just for the both of us. But it was a great episode, and it was a necessary episode. So yeah.
Amazing, TK. Amazing. Another fan question one of my viewers asked, do you have a ritual or routine that jumpstarts your day?
I do. That's such a cool question. I love it. So, I have been doing The Artist's Way. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Don't think so.
Yeah, it's a really cool book for anybody who is a creative or anybody who is wanting to get back into creativity. It's especially good for people who have burnout, but it's also good for
Mm.
preventing burnout. It's a really fun book, and every morning it encourages you to write these things called morning pages. So, you just brain dump on 2 to 3 pages of your notebook, just free form thought, no structure, no nothing, anything that pops into your brain. So that's usually my morning ritual. I go and I write my morning pages and I make myself a cup of coffee, and I pet my cats, and that gets my day started. And then my husband usually we're big incense people. We love smelly good
Mm.
things. So I'll light a candle, he'll light the incense, we'll have our cup of coffee, I'll write my morning pages, and then I'll sit down with the master plan, and I'll get my day started. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Now, this fan question was specifically made for you and mine, TK. And this
Okay.
viewer asked, were there any episodes that did not make it past the brainstorming phase?
Oh my gosh. Any episode that didn't make it past the brainstorming phase? Yeah, for sure. For so many. Um, gosh. Um, I really wanted to do the history. So I did, I think 2, maybe 3 seasons ago, I did the history of Satan.
I
Um,
remember that episode.
yeah, and I wanted to do like a accompanying episode of the history of Jesus, but then I thought, nah, maybe we'll hold off on this because there's too much information. People did get a little upset about the Satan episode, and I was like, we'll hold off on that one. Another one that I have held off on is um oh my gosh, I can't remember it right now. You probably know, but um the secret program that Japan had during World War II.
Oh, 711, I think.
711, yes. I was like, "Oh, yeah, that seems interesting, that seems fun," thinking that it would be something like the Manhattan Project or something like that.
No.
Ab Absolutely not. So for me, for my own sanity, I was like, we're not this no, I can't do this one. I cannot do that one."
Absolutely. And in case people in the comments are asking what Project 711 is, what I will say just for YouTube guidelines, it was Japan's medical expertise window, if you could call it, of involving live test subjects. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, most of what we know about the human body comes from those experiments by the Japanese for Project 711. That's all I'm going to say.
Mhm.
If you want to
Yeah.
know more, learn at your own
Own
risk,
risk.
because it is a lot of information to take in, and it is very, very, very uncomfortable. But with all that
Yeah.
said, TK, you have produced some amazing, incredible content that almost like a familiar question that I remember
Mhm.
asking you before. Whenever you have worked on new episodes or beginning to work on an episode for a later day and time, ultimately for you, what is the promise you're making, not just to yourself as the person, the face, the content creator of For the Love of History, but also for your viewers, both returning and new?
Mm. So the promise that I make to myself is that I am gonna teach people something they didn't know, and I really want people to feel more connected to history. That's my whole goal. I want to bring the love back into history and the
Mm-hmm.
human connection back into history, because I think so often, you know, the past seems so far away and the people in the past seem so far away, but people are people. People
Yes.
have been people from the Neolithic to the ancient Greeks and Egyptians and over in China, in the continent of Africa, everywhere. Everywhere people are people, and people, although the circumstances of their lives are different, the emotions are the same. We feel happy when good things happen. We feel sad when sad things happen. We feel angry when other things happen. And I want that is my promise to myself, is that I will bring that to the episode. And my
Nice.
promise to my listeners is that they will have fun, they will learn something, and they will end the episode feeling better than they started.
Very, very true. Well said, TK.
Thank you.
Well said. Now, going back a little bit in time, when you first got started, so this is now focusing on your role as a podcaster before transitioning over into YouTube. When you
Mhm.
first began this journey of yours, what really surprised you about being a podcaster and now as a content creator? What were some of the biggest tips that you've learned throughout your career looking back?
It's hard. It's so hard. Um, it Oh my gosh. So I've been doing this for 5 years. Next year it'll be 6. Um, and the one thing that I wanna say up top to anybody out there who is trying to create content, trying to do this, podcast or YouTube thing, the the likelihood of overnight success is incredibly small. And those people that
Mhm.
you see that you think are overnight successes are most likely not. Most likely they have been working really, really, really hard for a really long time. And then finally something has blown up.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So comparison is the thief of joy. So please don't compare yourself to other people. If you want to take inspiration from other people, that is one thing. That's one thing. But don't compare yourself to other people, because you ultimately provide something that is completely different to anything anybody else provides. Your content is unique and different and cool and fun. And it's okay for it to change and grow and
Hmm.
get better. Yeah.
Very
Um,
true.
yeah, so I guess that would be my biggest piece of advice. Um, as for other things, some I think sometimes we have a tendency to think our stuff is either exponentially better or exponentially worse than it actually is.
Hmm.
So, try to look at your content with an objective eye, as objective as you possibly can be. If something doesn't do well or perform well, you might need to look at it and say, okay, was this my best content? Did I put effort into this? Is it something that's topical right now? And, you could do all of those things, and the algorithm could be like, yes, reward for you, views for you. Or the algorithm could be like, hate you, nothing for you.
Yes, that is unfortunately very, very true about the algorithm, which is apparent. And going to this topic of
Hmm.
burnout, there's one question I did want to ask because I think it is apparent to discuss
Hmm.
is that there are going to be days where we don't want to create. There are going to be days where we
Oh
don't
my God.
want to produce videos. Like looking back now, just for November, a lot of people said that it's probably my smallest amount in terms of what I
Mm.
normally do, because normally I have about like 18 videos a month. But I
Insane.
realize, yes, but I realize I can't keep doing that because I want to at least have time for my other project, my other stuff.
Mm.
And also, I may not be in a creative mindset to create a new episode. So, for you, TK, how do you deal or balance the dreaded creatives block when you have those moments? What do you do outside that keeps you centered and grounded, but also releases some tensions or stress that you may have?
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of crying. Sometimes you just gotta cry. Sometimes you just need to have a good cry into your pillow, just indulge in the melancholy for a little bit, and then get up and go take a walk, go take a shower, get a drink of water, and you'll feel so much better. Um,
Mm.
for I cannot even tell you, Gabriel, how many times a season I do that. My intern and my husband can attest to me just being like, I'm worthless. Everything I do sucks, and just having a good cry. And it's okay. It's okay to feel like that. It's totally fine. It's natural. It happens. But to avoid getting to that point, um, I like to take walks. If I'm feeling really creatively stuck or like I just don't have anything good or fun or interesting to say, go to the woods, get to the woods and go take a walk and look outside and just be around nature if you possibly can. If you only have a singular tree in your backyard or something, walk around that tree in circles.
Yes.
Yeah, just go outside. Just please go outside if you can. If it's cold, if it's rainy, doesn't matter. Put in your headphones. Do not listen to a podcast or anything like that. Don't listen to a show. Don't listen to a podcast. Listen to music without words.
Hmm.
Put on some whatever, lo-fi beats, doesn't matter. Music without words. Go outside for a walk. And I promise you the creative juices will be flowing.
Yes, absolutely. Could not agree more. And this now goes into a very, very particular question, which I'm very eager to ask. And I kind of did hint
Oh.
at this in the beginning with AI content
Mm,
in YouTube and specifically for history. But I'm actually going to combine that with a few other questions, which
sure.
is, as content creators and as, historians, we love talking about history. We love producing it.
Mm,
And definitely the industry has changed for history. I remember talking with some colleagues of mine here in the States and in England that it's never been more easy to write about history, but it's never been more difficult to market or produce history. It has been
mm,
extremely challenging. And of course, social media is a great tool to use for historians and historical content creators to produce and showcase work. But social media is a double edged sword. It leaves us
mm,
exposed to the negative side of it. And of course, with the rise of AI trickling down with AI generated videos and sometimes copying or being used to build upon and just steal and everything. And also, what I remember talking with some friends of mine, specifically content creators, people questioning, do you even know what you're talking about? Because you are not an academic, you are not academically or traditionally taught of the debate between the armchair historian and the academically trained historian. So ultimately, TK, with that mindset and seeing this around, on the interwebs, again, with the algorithms and all that stuff, and maybe some comments here and there, what has still disciplined you and grounded you to still make the content you want to make, no matter what people say?
I believe I have a very important job. An incredibly important job, and I love my job as a conduit between the world of academia and people outside of academia. History communicators, science communicators, math communicators. That is a job that has been created in our 21st century internet world.
Yes.
Because there is a very high bar to entry into the world of academia. School is so expensive. School is incredibly expensive. Databases are expensive. Learning how to synthesize, learning how to research, that's hard. It's hard. And that's why people go to
Yes.
school for it. And so I believe that it is my job, and I'm happy that it's my job to to synthesize what the world of academia is saying and doing and talking about, and giving it to the masses, giving it to the people who want to learn but maybe don't have access to higher
Mhm.
education, who want to learn but who don't have time to do their own research. I think as well, it's important. History communicators are important because often, often those in the ivory tower of academia have kind of lost touch with the rest of the plebs out in the world.
Mhm.
And so it's important to bridge the gap the opposite way as well. So I make mistakes, people make mistakes, everybody makes mistakes. So if I get something wrong, or somebody sends me a bad comment or something like that, I try not to let it get me down. If I make a mistake, I correct that mistake. Just for an example, in excuse me, um I made a mistake in the Frankenstein reel that I made a while ago. I said that Mary Shelley wrote the very first sci-fi book. I was wrong. It was actually some Greek guy back in the day writing about aliens. And somebody very politely, very kindly said, "Hey, like, love Mary Shelley, but there's actually one more sci-fi book before that." And I pinned that comment and I wrote down, "Oh, okay, great. This is the book. Here's who wrote it. This is the history of it." So that's where I think AI content can't and doesn't
Mhm.
uh work. Um is that human aspect, obviously.
Right.
Um yeah, so yeah, I hope I answered your question.
Yes, absolutely. And
Okay.
also to add to the Mary Shelley, I was actually talking with some friends of mine for like a Halloween episode where I talked
Mhm.
about, the evolution of Gothic literature. And you could also argue that Mary Shelley pioneered the first zombie book. If you really do think about it, like Frankenstein
Yeah.
is and he's a animated corpse, reanimated
Yeah.
corpse, but he's an undead, and
Mhm.
pioneered the zombie genre. And in that episode, we also talked about how if you look at Jekyll and Hyde, that is
Mm.
also the forerunner of the transformation genre, lycanthrope,
Mhm.
lycanthropy, the werewolves, and all that stuff from
Yeah.
man into beast. So it is very, very true. And I love talking with people about, little tidbits in history and just everything. And again, watching your content, TK, is so incredible because you really do put a lot of work, passion, and you really do a lot of research. But also, as you said, there are going to be, hiccups now and there. And also, saying like, thank you for letting me know that. Thank you for, educating me on something that I did not know. So that way I can use this for a future episode. And
Mm.
another fan question one of my viewers asked is, knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently reflecting on your podcast days in terms of marketing yourself, building your brand, your name, anything like that?
Yeah, I would say if you're going to start a podcast, start a YouTube at the same time. Monetization on YouTube is going to come way faster than monetization on a podcast. And not to like be like all about money, but you got to make money. You got to be
Yes.
able to make money to be able to do this. Um so definitely I would have started my YouTube sooner. I would have Gosh, what else would have done? Started a YouTube sooner. Start marketing your podcast on social media in fun ways. Have fun. First of all, have fun on the internet. Okay. It's not that serious. We are on a giant spinning rock in the middle of outer space. Nothing. It's fine. You're just having a good time on the internet. Okay. So enjoy yourself. And don't be afraid of cringe. I was afraid to, be my weird, kind of cringy self online. So don't be afraid, because people who like that are going to find you and they enjoy the authenticity. And then in terms of episodes, you got to mix the popular topics with the topics that you want to do, in until you get real big. It's important for search engine optimization to to choose topics that are interesting to the algorithms, so that a wide variety of people can find you. And then your people who enjoy you as a person and the way you tell your content will stay. Yeah. I also wish I would have told myself just to have fun, and it's not that serious. Nothing is that serious in this world,
Right.
So yeah. That's what I would tell myself. Yeah, that's what I would suggest to of other people.
Very nice, TK. Very nice.
Mhm.
And actually, kind of adding on to this notion of authenticity, it is almost very almost like for like a writer too, because a writer, when we create things, we have to balance out, our authenticity, showcasing who we are, but realize if we're going into, let's say, a genre of writing, there are certain expectations
For
people
sure.
have. And historical content creation is no exception. That is, you can look at it as a genre of storytelling. So for
Sure.
you, TK, how did you find that balance of showcasing your incredible personality, but also showcasing that you are very, very detail oriented, you're a great researcher, and above all, you're an exquisite storyteller?
Thank you so much for saying that. I will definitely give a large piece of the credit pie to one of my professors in university. Um, he had us each week write a one-paged single space paper on a topic every single week. So every single week we had one page only to cover a topic, and make sure that a person who was reading it for the first time would be able to understand what you're talking about, why it's important, and why they need to know that information.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out Dr. Woods, Boise State University. I don't know if he's still there, but he's a fantastic man, an excellent professor. And so he had us do that. So for 2 whole semesters, every single week, I was writing a one-page essay with the parameters that if somebody was picking this up for the first time, they would understand the context, they would understand the importance, and they would understand why they needed to know this information from a historical background. So that is one of the reasons that I attribute to me being able to pack a lot of information into one single episode. And then for better or for worse, I am not able to keep my thoughts to myself. I've gotten in trouble for having my voice too apparent in much of my writing, which is now benefiting me. So just making sure to have a good balance of facts that are backed up by researchers, and then knowing that it is okay to interject your own thoughts and feelings and opinions, but making sure that it's clear that these are your thoughts, feelings, and opinions, so that
Mhm.
people can understand, like, hey, this is the information. This is what we know 100% for sure. And this is what I think about it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And now this is another really, really good fan question, which I think is
Hmm.
very, very true. I think it is important to talk about is what are your thoughts on trendy historical episodes? And to give examples of, let's say, real life events that are covered uh, in the interwebs and used for historical videos, but they're just used to not really grow or educate the audience and are just there for clout.
Um, so I might have a different opinion on this than other history creators because I am all for social media. I think social media is great and wonderful and can be used as a fantastic tool. So I kind of have a problem with the word clout when it comes to historical content. When it comes to like other stuff, like I crashed my $10,000 Bugatti or whatever. Like that's
Mhm.
clout. That's clout chasing. Okay. 100% unequivocally. But I think people forget that social media is an economy of attention. And if you want to get eyes on your content, on your stuff that is more well researched, more important, more, whatever, more important to you, it is important to do some topical topics, but make it into a way that is important to you or resonates with you. So, for example, I have a series called History Women History Owes an Apology To, and that's one of
Mhm.
my
Love
ongoing
it.
series. I love it too. I do have to admit that that was a fan idea. One of the
Ooh.
history besties was like, "Hey, you should do this series," and I was like, "Absolutely, yes, I should." Um, so the new Frankenstein, the Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein just came out. It was beautiful. I loved it. And I thought, to hop on this trend of what is topical right now, I want to tell people about how cool Mary Shelley is. And while I knew that that video was going to do very well because it's topical right now.
Mhm.
And some people could say, oh, you're only talking about Mary Shelley for clout chasing. Yes, I am. Indeed, I am. I want as many people to see this video as humanly possible so that they can be like, wow, this history, creator is really interesting. Let me see her other content. So I think that clout chasing as a history content creator, it can be used to your advantage as long as you stay true to the facts and you stay true to yourself. So I think hopping on trends is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing as long as we use it in a way that is not detrimental to history, if that makes sense.
Very well spoken, TK. Very well spoken. And
Thanks.
now we get to probably a question that I want to ask you, and it's
Yeah.
a very big one. So I'm gonna
Okay.
break it up into three parts, which
Okay.
is almost like with writing a book, when for making an episode, you can always, I imagine that there have been episodes that you really, really enjoyed that you could do into like a part one, part two, part three, do a whole series on just
Yeah.
one episode idea.
Hmm.
But at the end, it has to come to a close. You have to give a definitive end. So
Mm.
for you as a storyteller, whenever you're making an episode, and you can actually use one as an example to these questions, for which episode or episodes did you know that you had to know when it was finished, stop with like the edits and like the tweaking, and no matter what happened, ensuring that the ending of the episode, the final few minutes, was satisfying, not just for yourself as a creative, but also for the viewer?
Oh my gosh. The episode that immediately comes to my mind is the American Plan from last season. For the listeners who don't know, the American Plan, it was a series of laws that made it legal for various government officials to basically kidnap, the law says men and women, but it was overwhelmingly women who were thought to have STIs or who they suspected of having an STI. Like they just looked like the vibe was that they had an
Mm,
STI. And they were kidnapped, essentially kidnapped and treated for that STI in the pursuit of keeping soldiers fit and ready for duty. But really, it was just a thinly guised way to control women and women's bodies. And then it was later on used for doing the same thing to people of the LGBTQ community during the height of the AIDS epidemic. And I could have made a 6-part series of each time period because it starts back in Europe. The first idea came from Napoleon. And I could have talked about the Napoleonic Wars for 3 episodes and then come
mm.
over to the United States for the Civil War for like 3 episodes, and then World War I, and then World War II, and then the AIDS epidemic could have been its own episode. But that's not possible. Like that's
Yeah.
not feasible, you know? And in storytelling, we want to have a nice, beautifully wrapped ending to something, right? A
Right.
satisfying ending. But there is no satisfying ending to this because those laws are still on the books. They are being used today. And that sucks really bad. And I knew I had to have, or I wanted to have a satisfying ending. And sometimes you just got to tell the unsatisfying ending to the story. And sometimes that's enough closure for it to be a satisfying ending, just to be like, hey, this sucks. It still is happening, but here's what we can do and here's what we can learn.
Mm.
And here's that, I hesitate to say moral lesson, but I guess kind of a lesson, that we can take from what is happening or what happened in the past and use it in our present. So that's how I kind of navigate that.
Very true, TK. Very true. And as we near the end of this amazing interview, there was one final fan question I want to ask,
Sure.
which scrolling through, because there's a lot. There's a lot of
Oh my
fan questions.
gosh. Oh.
Let's see, which one that I haven't used in an episode before? Ooh, okay. I like this
Okay.
one. All right. So this viewer, they've seen your interviews,
Mm-hmm.
and they ask, if you had the opportunity to, let's say, time travel and pull an
Mm.
historical figure for an interview, you're interviewing them
Mm.
about their life, who would that figure be and why that particular figure?
Empress Himiko. Empress Himiko of Japan is who I would pull an interview.
Why
Because
did I
first of
know exactly that was the person you were going to say? Like, she can't be saying, like, because I remember that name. It's like she dropped that the last time.
I did. I want to talk to her so badly. So, for the listeners who don't know, back several, like, I think maybe 10,000 years. I cannot remember exactly off the top of my head how long ago it was. But it is during the Kofun period in Japan.
Mm.
I think that's in the anyways, it doesn't matter. Long time ago. So during the Kofun period of Japan, it was pre-imperial Japan, pre-Nara, pre-Heian, all of that. And so there is evidence in Chinese texts, because China and what we now consider Japan, they had, trade and stuff. They were going back
Right.
and forth. China calls Japan the Kingdom of Queens, the land of queens. And during that time, Japan was a shamanistic society. It was, they believed in animism. It was the beginnings of Shinto. And in Shintoism, the main goddess is a woman. And so Himiko is possibly, maybe, the first documented ruler of what we now call Japan. And there is a giant kofun, which is a burial mound that's shaped
Mm.
like a keyhole. It's huge. It's like the size of a football field. It's giant. Yeah, yeah. And it's incredible. I have been, but they will not open it up. They will not open up the kofun and see who's inside of it. And I have my conspiracy theories as to why that is, but I would love to interview her and ask her what Japan was really like during the Kofun period of Japan, to really see if it was a matriarchal society, to really see what they were doing, what's inside that tomb, what society was like, what her position was. Yeah, that's what I would do. That's who I would talk to.
Amazing, TK. Amazing. Now, as a final send off to this amazing historians interview, with everything that we have talked about, from
Yeah.
the episodes that you've done, your day to day life of creating amazing content, at the end of the day, and I think you may already mentioned this early, but maybe you can expand upon it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want people to take away from the content that you are creating?
I want people to take away that anything that you are feeling, have felt, or will ever feel in your life is not unique to you, in that you are not the only one who has ever felt that way. There have been countless people all throughout history to go through the same thing in a different iteration, of course, different time period, but the same thing as you. And for me, knowing that and understanding that makes me feel way less alone in the world. It makes me feel, if I'm struggling with something, I always go to history and see if anybody else has ever had that
Right.
thing happen to them, or that feeling, or has written about this thing or this feeling. And that always makes me feel better. So I just want people to know that they are not removed from history. They are a part of history. Every person affects history in the whole world. And to me, that makes me feel like, okay, even on my days where I feel like an insignificant piece of mold on the bottom of a shoe, uh, I remember to myself that I remind myself that even tiny mold on the bottom of a shoe is important in the historical context.
Amazing, TK. Absolutely amazing. And with
Thank
that,
you.
viewers and listeners, we conclude another amazing historians interview here on Tales from the Wandering Scribe. I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to my dear friend in the land of the rising sun, TK, for coming back on the show for her third debut and appearance on the show. TK, thank you so much for coming back. I really do appreciate it. And before we officially sign off, do you have any announcements you'd like to share with the viewers and listeners, any upcoming episodes, as well as where can people find you on the interwebs to subscribe and stay up to date with your announcements and episodes?
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Instagram is the main one. You can also find me on any podcast platform and YouTube. And season 12 will start on January 9th. Very excited about it. And if you are interested in joining Patreon, I do a lot of behind the scenes over there. Lots of videos of travel, me making costumes, just chatting and talking about cool stuff. We have a Discord. And then, yeah, next year, season 12 will start January 9th. And For the Love of History University will also be starting again. So I'll be teaching a lecture every other month about different topics, and you can sign up and join and have a good time. So that'll be starting in February of next year.
Awesome. I'll link all those down below in the description of this video. And if you want to see PK's 2 other appearances on the show, I'll post her first interview right over here and her Historians Lounge episode on Tomoe Gosen right over here. And also, on a final note, viewers and listeners, if you are interested in Roman history and would love to read a really good speculative fiction take on the Second Punic Wars, I have the book for you. My 4th book, which is the last of my COVID books that I wrote during the lockdown, is up for pre-order. If you are outside of the United States, it's available on Amazon. The Kindle is up, but the paperback will be out a few days before, which is December 24th. So that is Christmas Eve or maybe Christmas Day for you, depending on where you are. And for those in the States, the paperback and the ebook is available on Barnes & Noble as well. So I'll provide those links down below in the description of this video. And if you want to see my other works, Michael S. Angel of Earth, Amnetus, Son of Persia, and The Gathering are also available on Amazon as well. You will not be disappointed. I'm always looking for great readers, and I'm always looking for honest feedback too. So if you're looking for a new read for yourself, or if you're looking for some early Christmas shopping, these are the places to go. And as always, viewers and listeners, thank you so much for your love and support. A huge thank you to my friend TK for coming back on the show. We wish her the very best with her stuff. And I cannot wait what we have in store for next year. So until then, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with all of our information. And until next time, this has been the Wandering Scribe and the Wandering Quill signing out. Wish you all a wonderful day, wonderful evening, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you all next time. Have a wonderful day.